Hey, welcome to the Push Pull Sales and Marketing Podcast. I'm Marcello.
And I'm Sherry, and each episode will provide you with sales and marketing strategies that you can implement immediately into your own business. Today, I'm speaking with Henry Geddes, who's a professional photographer, the owner of Splashlight Studios, and the founder of Chatlight, which I was looking up this morning and already added to my Christmas list for this year, so we're going to talk more about that. But I'm excited to have you on, Henry, and I think mostly because there's an increasing focus on videos in the realm of digital marketing for a whole variety of reasons, but that means that everybody has to learn how to produce decent looking videos, decent looking pictures, and I think you're going to be able to give us a lot of tips along those lines.
That's right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got to this point.
Okay, so I was born in South Africa, and in the late 90s I moved to Manhattan where I studied photography, specifically fashion photography. And whereas some people specialize in photojournalism and others are already sort of tech guys, they love the technicality of photography. I loved the fashion aspect, the portraiture. I loved how lighting was this magical ingredient in photography. And so I then went on to open up a business which specialized in lights, cameras, and studio production. And so we started a company called Splashlight Studios, which is essentially a production business for photographers, specifically in the fashion industry.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's great. So it's interesting. What do you think put your focus on the lighting aspect of it?
There's something about how light is such a simple aspect and that we take it for granted.
Yeah.
But it really makes just makes all the difference. It's what creates mood. It's amazing how you can manipulate light to create dramatically different pictures.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, the tools that photographers have, from the very basic, let's say a skylight, to these very, very, very expensive lights that you can buy, create such different tools. And so I really got into that. And so I understand how one can just turn and face a window, and suddenly you have a perfect light.
Yeah.
And so many people miss that.
Do you feel like you have had a natural eye for that, or is it something that you think anybody can pick up as they're learning about lighting and experimenting with it, or a little of both?
I think a little bit of both.
Yeah,
I think for sure I just see light in a different way, but it's certainly something that it's a craft, and you can, with time, you can learn it and get it right. So I think it's a bit of both for sure.
Yeah. So when did the jump from Splashlight Studios with a lot of, expensive professional equipment, did you switch, not necessarily switch, but include then the Chatlight, which is, you can talk a little bit more about that, but it's much more accessible. It's for the everyday person who's using a smartphone or going on Facebook Live or jumping on Skype. Was it a hard shift for you, or did you see?
No, I'll tell you, the way it happened, Sherry, is, in 2003, Skype was launched, which was one of the revolutionary game changers in the internet.
Yeah.
And, for me, it was just, I think you may recall how amazing it was that you could now just talk to friends and family across the world. It was unbelievable. I mean, here we are, face-to-face, live discussion. And but from my perspective as a photographer, I look at this and I'm thinking to myself, wow, you look bad, man. You need you need a light or an umbrella or something, or at least just take your laptop and face a big bright window.
Right.
So I had the luxury of sort of this knowledge of just, I could bring home an umbrella kit and boom, I'm good. But most people don't have access to that kind of thing.
Right.
And so this sort of was the seed of the idea of like, well, can I come up with a little product that anyone could just buy and click onto their tablet or onto their screen and make just add a bit of fill light, just to fill the light in your face that sort of takes away the shadows underneath the eyes, underneath the nose, and so that the camera on your laptop or the camera on your computer is now not working so hard. So if you recall a couple of years ago, there might be there was like a buffering or a freeze in the frame, and that's what happens when your camera is trying to work hard to focus on the person.
Mm-hmm.
And the secret to helping your camera is just to provide more light. And so now suddenly the camera works better and you look better.
Yeah,
And,
it's a great point. And especially, it's one thing if you're Skyping with your mom and it's bad lighting and whatever, it would be nice to easily have good lighting. But a lot of people are holding meetings or doing interviews over Skype or, jumping on Facebook Live and broadcasting. And I loved on the Chatlight.com, you guys have a great promotional video where you're showing those examples of, we've all seen it, the really dark room or the blue light from the screen is reflecting on their face, and it looks familiar, and it's just amazing how one simple light that's set up the right way, that has the right, white balance and all of that can make a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you looked at sort of, I don't know, any news TV show, and then they pipe in someone from, the hotel room in Istanbul, and this person just looks like grainy and dark, and you think, geez, just all you need is a light. The right kind of light will make your whole picture look good, and you're on national television.
Yeah.
And so it's from that point where I say, what sort of like a blind spot in video chats, although it's exploding, is that it's not only a novel thing anymore. It really has become the way people work. And if you're in the recruitment business, you could hire someone, say, listen, a recruiting company, and what they want is they want a video chat before anything. They said, listen, I just need a basic take on someone's personality, and it's not going to be done via paper or a voice call. It really needs to be done on a video chat, because there are certain visual cues that one gives off face to face that you cannot read on a voice call. Absolutely. And so under those circumstances, I think it's in everyone's interest to really maximize how well they look.
Because if it looks bad, it's distracting, and whether even if you're super professional, really well spoken, it's still something, it lacks professionalism. You start, there's plenty of videos that I watch around the web where I'm like, ugh, how can you be missing that basic thing? It's so easy to, like you said, go to a window or turn towards the light or, have a chat light ready to go. So what are some of the really, since we're on the subject of lighting, what are some basic tips? I think you hit on that a little bit, but let's say I'm getting ready to create a YouTube video or a Facebook video or whatever it might be for my business. What are some basic things that I need to look for lighting wise?
Well, I would say at the very least, you would want to position yourself facing a big window. Mm-hmm. So, we all know that not everyone has access to that if you're in an office environment and so forth. But let's say you do have that. That's the first thing you want to do. And think about it this way. Like, think about yourself you just pulled into your garage, and the entire room is dark except the light that's coming from outside. Mm-hmm. You want to create that kind of environment where there is no other point of light around you except this one window.
Interesting.
Okay,
so not a lamp behind you, not a side table light, just the front.
Because what happens is, Sherry, the camera is now going to pick up the ambient light that's behind you, and it's going to adjust for that. So what you really want to do is you want to overcompensate, and you want to make your entire surrounding in your room basically dark, mm-hmm. with the primary source being the window. And it's the same principle whether you're using a chat light or using any other kind of light. Turn off the other lights and let the one light be primary.
Okay.
And so that light needs to come at you literally front ways. So it's not overhead, it's not sideways, it's just right in the front. Yeah. And so that's my number one tip.
I love that. And it's interesting that you mentioned the garage too. I had seen a blog post that somebody did a tutorial where she had these incredible portraits. And she said, I did them in my garage. I opened the garage door.
Yeah.
Everything was dark behind them. And it was just this gorgeous black background with the natural light hitting her subjects' faces. And I just thought that was brilliant. You know, you would
Yeah.
never guess it looking at the picture. And she's like, yeah, I have a garage full of stuff behind them. You just don't see it.
Yeah, so it's a garage it's that garage trick which I keep telling people. Imagine yourself in a garage with one door open and try replicate that if you can, either with a window or with a light. But
Yeah.
put off the lights on the side, turn the overhead lights off, and just have a single source coming at you is the best thing you can do.
I love that. What about any camera angle tricks? You know, I think a lot of us, especially with the age of the selfie, you know, everybody holds it up a little bit.
Yeah, yep.
Other than that, I mean, is there anything
Well,
that you've
again,
learned through
I mean,
fashion?
yeah, the basic thing is to have the camera angle slightly higher than your eyes. If possible. And you know, it's a big mistake that most people make because they're looking down at their laptop when they're talking, and it's the worst angle you can do. I mean, it's only babies and models that you can really shoot from below, you know.
Yes, because you want to accentuate the baby's adorable chubby cheeks, and models don't have them. So
Well, my models don't have them, and actually, it is nice to shoot a model from below. If you look at a lot of fashion shoots, they are shooting lower than the model.
and it
But
elongates them.
yeah, but most of us are not models,
Yeah.
and so you want to go a little bit above. And if anything, if you're using a laptop, for example, put your laptop on maybe a pile of books or something, and
Yeah.
and then and begin from that point.
Yeah, I've done that, you know, and just taking those extra couple minutes before, you know, I was doing like a webinar thing with a couple other people, and just taking the couple minutes to look at it and make sure that my laptop, you know, is a little bit higher. Does it look natural? What am I capturing in the background? You know, what do I look like?
Right,
How's the
right.
lighting? And just playing with things. A lot of time it's just taking that time to, what if I put the light over here? What if I turn this way? Instead
Yeah.
of just going on.
Yeah,
Going live.
and so it's all, well, I say like prepare
Yeah.
for a shoot, because when we get ready in the business of shooting, there's a shot list, and it's a very detailed preparation, because when you actually, if you relate a video chat to a photo shoot, the more you prepare, the better your outcome.
Yeah.
And you go through the list very, very carefully. You carefully select the model. You carefully select the clothing. You carefully select the hair and makeup, and you put all these things together, because it all boils down to sort of one day or one shoot where all these things come together, and it's a very expensive mistake if you don't get that right. So with video chatting, I say, take time and make sure that you've got hair and makeup done. And I think even for guys, a little bit of sort of makeup or a little bit of some kind of concealer is needed.
Yeah.
Girls, by all means, the camera takes away from the makeup. So, go a little over, with the makeup, because the camera will read that better.
Mm-hmm.
And, as you said, like, take care of what's in the background.
Right.
Get your angle right. Be prepared for sure.
And as you were talking about, you have your whole shot list set up. Do you still feel like there's some element of trial and error once you're actually there with the model? Or have you done it so long that you can walk in knowing exactly what you need and how you need it?
Yeah, I think there's the human element that is always, it's always something that's going to make things different for sure. But as the more professional an environment is, the more predictable it becomes.
Mm-hmm.
A good model will walk in, she'll be like chewing gum, look very plain, but an hour later, hair, makeup, lights, camera, action, and it's just a different human being entirely. Things are just happening.
And I think that's an interesting point too, even for, we think of ourselves as, we're just Joe Schmo on the street and we're not going to look fantastic. And there are actually tricks and tools and tips, and if it's a photo, there's editing available where you still look natural but you look like your best self. And
Yeah.
and for video, the lighting can, if the lighting's bad, it can age you a couple years. And, if the makeup isn't done right, just everything about it. So why not put, there's a lot of work that goes into professional photography and videography. And if you're not putting any work in, it shows. And trying to put yourself, we all understand in the business world that first impressions do matter. And every impression matters, and you do need to be looking your best along with providing value and knowing what you're talking about. But the physical impression does absolutely matter.
Yeah, and it's all and people say this, but it really is true. It's all in the eyes. And what something like the Chatlight does, or a bright window, it opens up the eye. The eye cavity is really the key thing here. If you look at a fashion picture or the cover of Vogue or any of these things, Sherry, I'm not sure you're familiar with the word catchlight, but it's a little. Okay, so next time you look at a magazine cover, look carefully at the model's eyes, and within the eyes, you'll see a reflection of the primary source of light.
Yes,
and
I love that. I love, and I've started to notice it, and I think mostly through Instagram. A lot of the people that do a really good job, you see that almost just a brightness, an extra brightness, in the
little
eye.
sparkle in the eye. Yeah, and if I could just leave you with one thing, and that is always try have that little catchlight somehow reflected, because it's sort of through the eyes that you can really connect with someone. And very often it's even like seeing the color of a person's eyes. Like you don't even realize that person has, green eyes.
Yeah.
And it's just because it's a little dark and there's an overhead shadow and you're losing it.
Yeah.
And then, you're in sales. So I was just reading a quote from one of the sales trainers, Jack Daly, and he was like, sales in the last 5 years have gotten that much harder. It's so much harder just to get someone's attention. People are like bombarded with news and tips and quotes and inspiration. It's just like, how do I even make sense of this? And it's the human connection.
Absolutely.
It's that human connection. It's if you can enhance that connection just a little bit beyond your competitor, I think you have a competitive advantage, which makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And I think that's why we're seeing such an explosion of video, because people are tired of reading, they're seeing the 100th blog post about that particular inspirational or whatever, they're tired of it. And anybody could be writing that blog post. There's ghostwriters, and I've been a ghostwriter, I've been behind the scenes, and it's a couple degrees of separation. Whereas video, there's no faking it. You can't fake the warmth.
Yes.
You can't fake the genuineness of it. And hopefully, if you're doing it well, you're getting that connection. Nothing's more personal. I mean, people are they're laying in bed watching a YouTube video on their phone. That's very personal, and it's something that you can use to your advantage. And I think it helps weed out a lot of people, and like you said, gives you a competitive advantage. When you were talking about the eyes as well, I wanted to make the point that sometimes it's difficult to do when you're using your phone or your iPad or your computer, but making sure that you're looking at the camera versus yourself or versus something else, like that the viewer's eyes are that camera. So make sure you're aware of where they are, and make sure you're making eye contact with that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, people are so used to everyone just heads facing down. You go into Starbucks and you're walking around the streets and people are looking down on their phones the whole time. And so it's this desire just to sort of look face to face to someone and really connect. And I think this sort of, I'm in the business of light, so I know that light makes a difference in that connection. Yeah. And we're all vain to one degree or another, and we do care how we look. Right. And so I think that maybe people who might be a little shy or not want to video chat because they're just afraid of how they look. Why not? We can make a difference. We can actually make you feel better, more confident by just simply changing the way the light is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a good point too. And same thing goes for, some of the photo editing. And we were talking just briefly before, and I'd like to dive into it a little bit more, that we all have really good cameras in our pockets now, which was not
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
case even a couple years ago. How have you seen that change the industry, and how have you seen that change businesses?
Well, I think, the cameras have gotten so good that it's between the cameras themselves and the filters,
Mm-hmm.
people have an opportunity to really look great. I mean, it's almost like a fake reality where people are posting the versions of themselves that
Yeah.
is not even it's not even real.
Right.
Um, but I think
So,
that in business that's good because it encourages connection.
yeah.
And I spoke to a girl she's into Periscope, and
Mm-hmm.
she said to me, like, look, as you were saying, Sherry, the notion of being authentic is really a big deal to a younger audience who says, look, okay, so you're going to test my product via Facebook Live or Periscope.
Mm-hmm.
There is no Photoshop. There is no
Right.
editing. It's real. I'm here. You can see me testing it, and I think that the new buyers they want that reality. They want
Right.
the real reaction. They don't want
Because
a very marketing campaign with
exactly.
it's been photoshopped and it's been tested and market tested to what people are going to like. This is real. I
Yeah.
prefer that Yelp review or that live chat to a marketed product.
Right. Because we've grown up with that, since we
Yeah.
were very, very little. We were bombarded with ads, and now even more so, to the point where we see through it. We are sick of it, and we're ready for, you know, just the genuine interaction. If tell me what you're selling, tell me how you're selling it, and if I like it, I'll buy it. I don't
Oh,
need any of the trickery, and I can identify the trickery. I think is one of the biggest things, and it's something that we're having to shift, and a lot of traditional marketing is struggling with that concept. It's not, it's about connecting emotionally while being genuine.
right, right, right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, have you
Um,
noticed that those little I've seen those things on Facebook where they got they in real time they're applying like this little wrinkle cream,
hmm,
and suddenly you're seeing these wrinkles sort of disappear,
right. Or the
and they're
makeup
like,
tutorials,
yeah,
like that
yeah,
just,
and they're addictive because
uh
you're literally seeing this thing, and it's the most powerful way of selling something is show and tell. Like, here
yeah,
it is, and it's really happening, and next thing you know, the person's ordering.
right, right.
And it's that realness, that authentic sale that is I think you can take that and you can parlay that into all types of businesses and sales and
Yeah,
how do we connect with our customers. For example, call centers around the world, a lot of these companies are adopting real-time video chat within their call centers because it makes the difference.
yeah, yeah.
Customer satisfaction goes way up when they're not dealing with a robot.
I'm sure. But it's also very difficult to do. And I think a lot of companies are struggling. We had in our heads for a while that technology is going to make everything easier and we can just automate everything. And the market is saying, no, no, you still have to put in the work. I still want customer service. I still want to matter and speak to people. And I think we're seeing that swing, and companies are going to have to keep up with that,
Yeah, I
keep
mean,
that personal touch.
think of telemedicine, for example, now, where you got these medical corporations who are saying that customer and patient engagement is so important that we have to have doctors on call, on video chat right
Yeah,
there, just to
yeah,
talk to the patient one on one.
yeah. It's fascinating. I wanted to go back real quick to the point of making yourself look good but not faking it. And like
Yeah.
you said, you can't really fake it too much with video, unless you're on Snapchat and you're turning yourself into a cat or something. um, and we might start seeing more of that, but we're absolutely seeing it with pictures, that you can take 100 pictures and get the very best one. And from there, you can edit it till, your skin looks like a porcelain doll and your eyes are bigger than they usually are. So, where's the balance of making yourself look the best, like the best version of yourself without crossing that line? And I'm sure
Yeah, I mean, I think that is why you're seeing the explosion of video chats. Is because I personally think that the Instagram phase is on. I think we've peaked on the still image, because no one believes it anymore. Snapchat, another way. Snapchat's fun. It shows you what you can do with video manipulation, but there are just instances, whether it's in business and sales or personal relationships. If you're meeting someone online, for example, you don't want the manipulation. You really want the reality as best you can get it, and you understand. Okay, so we're going to go out of our way to make ourselves look as good as we can, but there is no cheat. It's just it's real. And hair, makeup, background, camera angle, and lighting I think are safe and are fair game. Yeah. That's for sure.
So you were talking about that you think Instagram has hit its peak. Do you think that we went too far in the direction of expecting everything to be picture perfect, nicely edited, and do you think that was part of the downfall of it?
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. Because the world isn't as nicely and clean and edited as it is conveyed on social media. Right. People curate their lives to look the best possible way they can, and really what they're doing is a form of showing off. Right. And so no one puts terrible stuff up there. And I think that at one point you become skeptical or just outright negative about a medium that is just showcasing the best and not showing you what's really happening.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I could be wrong.
Unattainable sometimes. I mean, even from the creator side, like before I post a picture, I don't post pictures without editing them first. Whether it's of my boys, whether it's a landscape thing. And it's overwhelming because Instagram was created to post instant pictures. Take it and upload it. We've gotten so far from that I'm like, I have to edit these Thanksgiving pictures before I post them. And it's kind of a silly thought process. But we've come so far that if you're using it in business, that's the expectation. It has to look nice and it has to look polished. But then I guess we're seeing the swing in the other direction with Snapchat being so popular that nothing's polished. Everything's just, quick snapshots, and people are really enjoying that as well.
Yeah, I think you can see that there's just a movement away from that. Whereas the initial intent, as you said, was this instant memory, has become this sort of purposefully curated sort of idealized version of me that we are showing off to the world, and no one's buying it anymore. And I think a lot of people are getting tired of it. So, Snapchat has got this sort of lightness to it, this making fun of ourselves, looking silly, and it has a tremendous appeal. Now, is Instagram still relevant? Absolutely. I think as a document of your life, you could say to yourself, I like it because basically it's my own journal. It's a journal of my time, and it's a visual record of where I'm going.
Right, and that's a lot of what I use it for personally. For my personal account, there's a service called Chatbooks that automatically adds your Instagram pictures to these photo books, and once you reach 60 pictures, they send you a photo book of your pictures. So it's how I do photo albums, and that's what it's turned into. So it is a highlight reel, and I think everyone is aware of that to some extent. But I agree that there's a place for it. But the more that we promote that polished look, it's almost like a higher bar of entry too. I know a lot of people starting out in business or a lot of bloggers are frustrated with well, how do I get my picture to look like that? You know, it looks like everyone on Instagram is putting out these professional pictures somehow from their iPhone. How do I do that? And I think instead of being overwhelmed from that too, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn from seeing those images and learning about the lighting. You know, how did they get that effect? How did they get those eyes to be so bright? You know, all of those kind of things that, how did they arrange the picture? Just the simple basics of photography.
Right.
I found myself following these people who really understood those basic concepts, and you start to absorb it a little bit, which I think was a great byproduct of the platform, even if it wasn't, you know, what they intended it for.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. To me, it's just been an amazing journey to watch how these things have changed and what they've become. From our perspective, it's been very interesting.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite platforms as a photographer? Do you post a lot of the fashion photography stuff to Instagram?
Well, you know, I do it in a sense to promote the studio. So I try, and if we have like a celebrity in the studio, you know, obviously I'm not allowed to use the imagery from the shoot from that day, but I could certainly post to say, you know, Naomi Watts was in the studio, and I'll put a picture of her from one of her films.
Right.
Because photography, in as you know, they're so picky about the licensing of the imagery, so
True.
we can never really post any of the imagery from that shoot. We can only sort of refer to them.
Yeah, that's hard. So what is something, if people are just starting out, they're just starting to create videos or trying to improve their photography, do you have a quick almost checklist for them before they go live or before they take that picture to run through the checklist? And I think we touched on this a little bit, but is there anything that you can give them?
I would just say, yeah, like prepare, you know, for sure, prepare and make sure that you spend the time to take care of your background, your camera settings. So if you're a video kind of guy, or you wanted to have a video channel, you know, definitely use the best cameras you can, you know, and use it on a tripod. That's a major thing. Like really spend a little bit of money. You can get those little mini tripods and use them. And with the audio, get a little clip-on mic.
Yeah.
And something that it's the audio visual. It's called AV for a reason. It's those two components that are so important. Just get the camera right on a tripod with a microphone and make sure you have good light.
Yeah.
It's really those three things that you focus on, and the rest will be, and as I said, the environment goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Question about the Chatlight. What is it about the Chatlight that is different from a lot of the other products that I might find if I'm looking on Amazon for a light attachment for my phone?
Well, we designed the light specifically for video chats, and there are some other lights that you can buy which are specifically more like selfie lights.
Okay.
So they're cheaper. The Chatlight retails for $29.99, so it's really a very affordable solution. The nearest thing that you can get that addresses this is well over $200.
Yeah.
And so I designed it for everyone in mind. The thing with the Chatlight it's been specifically designed for the purpose. So while it could be, you could always take a desk lamp for that purpose. The desk lamp hasn't the color balance of a desk lamp is very different to what is good for your skin. And so what we have is Chatlight's it's bright, but it's pure white light.
Okay.
So it's very neutral. We have versions versions 2 and 3 where you can sort of control the color temperature of the light and the intensity. But right now, you know, we launched this product through a Kickstarter campaign.
Okay.
And so it's just the initial product, and it's sort of a neutral, universal type of solution.
I love it. And I love that you can adjust it a little bit, like it's on a swivel kind of thing, up or down, and can just clip on. Is it battery powered or USB charged?
Yeah, USB charged. So you could it'll hold the charge for about 45 minutes.
Okay.
on high. But you can also, if you're someone who literally works, if you're a consultant or you're an educator or you're a doctor or someone, you can have this thing plugged in all the time, and it'll just keep going.
Nice.
LED technology's got so advanced in the last couple of years that these lights will last literally forever. I mean,
Yeah, it's
unless you drop
amazing.
it. Yeah.
It's so amazing.
I have a
Um,
customer who left it out in the rain. They went away for the weekend,
oh
and they were
no.
video chatting on their terrace, and they came back, and within a couple of hours, this thing came right back on.
Oh
So
my
it's pretty amazing.
goodness. That is
Yeah.
amazing. It's definitely a good testimonial. Um, so before we wrap up, is there anything that you can give our listeners a recommendation for a book or maybe a YouTube channel or anything where they can, or an app that they can improve their video or photography skills?
In
Or anything in general. Any
in general,
recommendation.
yeah. I mean, I think that if you say the book that I read recently, which was kind of cute, was a book called The War of Art,
Okay.
and I think that it's a quick read. I just finished it, and I thought it was fantastic. It's really interesting about whether you're starting a YouTube channel or you want to write a book, or we all know the artist that never sells a painting, or the person who's a great writer but never attempts to finish a
Right.
book. And it's this sort of internal resistance that gets the
Interesting.
better of us the whole time. So
Oh, that sounds really good. Yeah, I'll have to check
yeah,
that
it's
out.
really cool.
And I think something that a lot of us could probably use. So as we wrap things up, how can people find you? If they go to chatlight.com, I'm sure a lot of stuff is linked there. Is there anything
Well,
else?
yeah, chatlight.com, and there is a frequently asked questions section on the website, which has got some nice videos for you to look at.
Oh, perfect. That
Yeah.
sounds good. And any other thoughts for us?
I just think just to embrace this video chat wave, and
Yeah.
don't be afraid, and just get the right equipment, and sort of just start
Try
doing
it.
it. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I mean, it's just like, as I said, break the resistance, just do it, and just do one program and then do the next, and next thing you know, you'll become more and more familiar, and become more confident,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, you've got a body of work, which
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely. And the
yeah,
cost of entry has never been lower. The bar for
yeah,
that, it's you could buy a jet light for $30. Everybody for the most part has a smartphone of some sort. Facebook Live is free, YouTube is free. You don't have to pay anybody else if you don't want to. It can just be you and your phone in your garage if you would like, and you can start sharing your content with the world.
yeah. I
So,
mean, just a quick note on that. You just hit the nail on the head there. I mean, I was just recently listening to a talk by Jeff Bezos of Amazon, and he was like, this what they were able to do
yeah,
was unbelievably far out of reach 20 years ago. But here he said, listen, how do we ship all these products? But there's FedEx. The
right.
entire infrastructure for getting product delivered it's there already. Well, he
Yeah,
says, and then reaching the world, there was the internet.
yeah.
And it
It's
says like
amazing.
it's the infrastructure, the tools, the technologies, it's there. It's all there for us.
It is. It's amazing. And I I think I love that you were able to share a lot of your professional knowledge and bring that down to the layman level, for those of us that do it as a hobby or trying to just improve a little bit. People aren't expecting your Facebook Live videos or your YouTube videos or Instagram videos even to be professional quality, but
Right,
they
right,
are expecting them to be watchable. They are expecting, that they're not going to have to look up your nose in a dark room
right,
for a half hour. So, just paying attention to those basics. And I love that you are sharing that with the larger market.
yeah. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that wraps things up, and we appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, Sherry.
Thanks again to Henry for coming on the show. To buy your own Chatlight, you can use our affiliate link by going to pushpullsales.com/chatlight. Thank you to bensound.com for our intro and outro music, and thanks to you guys for listening. You can tune in next time where we'll tackle another topic. You can view show notes and resources at pushpullsales.com. You can follow us on Instagram or on Twitter, which are both at pushpullsales. And if you're interested in coming on the show or have any feedback for us, feel free to email us pushpullsales@gmail.com. We'll talk to you later.